Belchite lies in the semi-arid plains of Aragon, in northeastern Spain, a region shaped for millennia by climatic constraint, agricultural adaptation, and human persistence. Long before war reached its streets, this landscape had already imposed limits on settlement size, resource management, and demographic stability. Scarce water, seasonal extremes, and marginal soils required tightly coordinated social structures, slow population growth, and deep local knowledge. Belchite existed because its inhabitants had learned across generations how to remain where nature offered little margin for error. Human settlements like Belchite are not random accumulations of buildings. They are adaptive systems. Their streets reflect patterns of movement shaped by labor and defense. Their architecture encodes responses to temperature, wind, and material scarcity. Their density mirrors social trust and shared risk. In evolutionary terms, a town is an externalized memory, a record of successful strategies for survival in a specific place. By the early 20th century, Belchite had become a stable, if modest, agricultural town. Its population lived within ecological limits established long before industrial modernity. This balance, however, was fragile. As in many rural European communities, it depended on continuity of families, continuity of labor, continuity of place. That continuity ended abruptly in 1937. Before we dive back in, let us know where you're watching from in the comments. If you're enjoying the content, hit subscribe. It really helps the channel. And to everyone already subscribed and following Primal Roots, thank you for the support. During the Spanish Civil War, Belchite's location transformed from an adaptive advantage into a fatal vulnerability. Situated along strategic routes between Zaragoza and the Republican front, the town became militarily valuable, not because of its resources, but because of its position. Geography, which had once supported human survival, now exposed the settlement to concentrated violence. Modern warfare altered the scale and speed of destruction. Artillery, aerial bombardment, and prolonged urban combat compressed devastation into days rather than decades. From an anthropological perspective, this represents a fundamental rupture. Human populations evolved to cope with gradual environmental stress, drought, famine, seasonal scarcity. They did not evolve to withstand the sudden annihilation of their built environment. As buildings collapsed, the town's spatial logic disintegrated. Streets ceased to function as corridors of exchange and became lines of fire. Churches and homes lost their symbolic roles and were reduced to defensive positions. The environment no longer supported social coordination. It actively undermined it. In evolutionary biology, adaptation requires time. Cultural systems respond through learning, transmission, and incremental change. Belchite was denied that time. The speed of destruction exceeded the capacity for behavioral adjustment. This is a key distinction. The town did not fail to adapt. It was prevented from adapting. When the fighting ended, what remained was not merely physical ruin, but an ecological and psychological landscape incompatible with immediate reoccupation. Water systems were destroyed. Agricultural cycles were interrupted. Social networks were fractured by death, displacement, and trauma. From a biological standpoint, the environment no longer met the minimum conditions required for stable human habitation. At this point, a decision emerged that would define Belchite's future. Rather than reconstruct the town in place, authorities chose to build a new settlement nearby, leaving the original site untouched. This choice separated human life from its historical environment. The old town ceased to function as a habitat and became something else entirely. Anthropology recognizes this moment as a rare phenomenon, a settlement that is not abandoned due to environmental collapse, nor rebuilt through necessity, but deliberately preserved in a state of arrested destruction. The town's location remained the same. Its function changed completely. Belchite became a frozen interface between past adaptation and present memory. The ruins continued to occupy space, influence movement, and shape perception, but no longer supported daily life. The environment persisted, without the behaviors that once animated it. This transformation reveals a deeper pattern. Human societies do not only adapt to landscapes, they also redefine landscapes when adaptation fails. In Belchite, relocation was itself an adaptive response. Survival continued, but continuity did not. What stands today in the Old Town is not simply the aftermath of war, it is the physical record of a broken adaptive loop. A place where the long evolutionary relationship between humans and their environment was interrupted, not by nature, but by human conflict. Belchite remains where it always was. The people moved on. When human populations abandon a place, the separation is rarely absolute. Even in the absence of daily life, locations continue to exert cognitive, emotional, and cultural influence. Belchite exemplifies this phenomenon with unusual clarity. After the war, the town did not vanish from maps, nor from collective awareness. It remained physically present, spatially dominant, and psychologically active. From the perspective of anthropology, ruins are not passive remnants. They are environments that continue to interact with human cognition. Research in cultural anthropology and environmental psychology shows that damaged landscapes associated with violence often become sites of intensified memory formation. They anchor narratives, shape identity, and influence how societies interpret both past and future. Belchite's ruins occupy the same geographic coordinates as the former town, but their meaning has shifted. Location remains constant. Adaptation changes direction. Studies in archaeological anthropology describe settlements as extended social organisms, systems in which architecture, movement, and memory are inseparable. When such systems collapse suddenly, as in modern warfare, the material environment can outlast the social behaviors that once sustained it. The result is a spatial paradox. The town exists, but no longer functions as a habitat. This condition has been examined in depth by scholars such as Paul Connerton, whose work on social memory emphasizes how physical spaces participate in remembering and forgetting. In Belchite, memory is not transmitted solely through stories or archives. It is embedded in collapsed walls, exposed staircases, and streets that no longer lead anywhere. The environment itself becomes a mnemonic structure. From an evolutionary standpoint, this represents a deviation from typical adaptive cycles. Human groups usually respond to catastrophic disruption through rebuilding, migration, or gradual transformation. Belchite followed a different path. Migration occurred, but rebuilding did not. The old environment was retained, visually and materially, while human life was redirected elsewhere. This choice altered how adaptation unfolded. The population adapted biologically and socially by relocating, restoring access to resources, and re-establishing demographic stability in the new town. At the same time, cultural adaptation took a different form. Instead of erasing the traumatic landscape, it was preserved, externalized, and stabilized. Psychological research on collective trauma supports this pattern. Studies indicate that societies sometimes maintain visible reminders of catastrophic events to regulate memory and identity over long time scales. These reminders can serve multiple functions. They may act as warnings, as moral symbols, or as tools of political narrative. Importantly, they also reduce uncertainty. The past is fixed in space, no longer diffuse. Belchite's location reinforces this effect. The ruins stand adjacent to the new town, not distant from it. Daily life continues within visual range of destruction. This proximity collapses temporal distance. The past remains geographically present, even as generations change. Environmental adaptation usually involves modifying surroundings to suit biological and social needs. In Belchite, the adaptation involved redefining the function of space itself. The old town became a boundary marker, separating what could be continued from what could not. It marked the limit of viable habitation under the conditions produced by war. Archaeological surveys of Belchite reveal minimal post-war modification. Unlike ancient ruins reshaped by centuries of reuse, these structures remain largely untouched. This lack of transformation is significant. It indicates intentional stasis, a decision to prevent natural adaptive processes such as reuse or gradual reintegration from occurring. The historian and anthropologist Tim Ingold has argued that human environments are constantly in the making, shaped through ongoing engagement. Belchite challenges this framework. Engagement was interrupted, then selectively resumed only at a symbolic level. The town was removed from the cycle of making and remaking. This has implications for how adaptation is understood. Adaptation does not always mean physical reconstruction. It can involve cognitive reclassification. Belchite was reclassified from habitat to evidence, from living environment to historical artifact. The scientific value of this transformation lies in its rarity. Few modern settlements have been preserved so completely in a state of post-conflict suspension. This allows researchers to study not only the effects of warfare on urban systems, but also how societies manage memory through space. Importantly, this preservation does not represent a universal or optimal response. Comparative studies of post-war reconstruction, including those documented by UNESCO and by urban anthropologists studying European and Asian cities after World War II, show a wide range of outcomes. Belchite is one point within a broader spectrum of adaptive strategies. What distinguishes it is not the destruction itself, but the response. The refusal to reintegrate the ruins into daily life created a long-term environmental signal, one that continues to shape perception, education, and identity decades later. Belchite demonstrates that adaptation can involve containment rather than transformation. The environment remains visible, but its role is constrained. Life moves forward nearby, while the past is held in place. This balance between continuity and rupture defines the town's scientific significance. Belchite is not simply remembered. It is spatially maintained as a stable reference point in an otherwise adaptive human system. The ruins persist, not because adaptation failed, but because adaptation took a different form. Belchite occupies a rare position in the study of human environments. It is not only a site of destruction, but a site of intentional preservation. This distinction is critical. While many post-conflict landscapes are shaped by economic necessity or demographic pressure, Belchite was shaped by decision. The location remained fixed, the function was transformed. From the perspective of historical anthropology, this act of preservation represents an intervention in the natural trajectory of human adaptation. Normally, abandoned environments are gradually reabsorbed through reuse, ecological succession, or redevelopment. In Belchite, that process was halted. The ruins were stabilized, not to support life, but to support meaning. Power plays a central role in this transformation. Decisions about which spaces are rebuilt, which are erased, and which are preserved are never neutral. They reflect institutional priorities, ideological frameworks, and long-term strategies of narrative control. In the case of Belchite, preservation served as both memorial and message, anchoring a specific interpretation of the conflict within the physical landscape. Biological anthropology offers useful insight here. Human social systems rely on shared symbols to coordinate behavior across generations. Physical landmarks function as external memory devices, reinforcing collective narratives without the need for constant verbal transmission. Belchite's ruins operate in this way. They are a persistent environmental signal, continuously reinforcing the presence of past violence. Location intensifies this effect. The proximity of the ruins to the rebuilt town ensures that memory is not abstract, it is spatial. Residents and visitors alike encounter the past not through text alone, but through movement and orientation. The landscape itself becomes instructional. From an adaptive standpoint, this arrangement balances stability and change. The population adapts by inhabiting a new environment optimized for modern life, while the old environment remains fixed as a reference point. This dual structure reduces ambiguity. It delineates what has been overcome and what must not be forgotten. However, scientific research also highlights limitations in this approach. Studies in trauma psychology and heritage conservation suggest that frozen landscapes can constrain interpretive flexibility. By fixing a site in a particular narrative state, alternative memories and perspectives may be marginalized. Adaptation at the cultural level can become constrained, even as biological and economic adaptation continues. Belchite thus illustrates a broader principle. Adaptation is not always synonymous with resilience. In some cases, preserving evidence of rupture may slow the integration of new identities. The environment remains locked in a moment of crisis, even as society evolves around it. This tension is visible in how Belchite is engaged today. The ruins are studied, visited, and documented, but not inhabited. They are approached as objects of observation rather than participation. This distance preserves integrity, but it also limits interaction. The site is stable, but static. Environmental anthropology recognizes this as a trade-off. Stability ensures clarity and continuity. Flexibility allows reinterpretation and renewal. Belchite prioritizes the former. It preserves a singular moment of collapse, rather than allowing gradual transformation to blur its boundaries. From a scientific perspective, this makes Belchite exceptionally valuable. It functions as a long-term case study in how societies manage the aftermath of extreme disruption. It demonstrates that adaptation can involve spatial separation, symbolic fixation, and selective preservation. At the same time, it raises unresolved questions. How long can a society maintain a frozen landscape before its meaning shifts? At what point does preservation become abstraction, disconnected from lived experience? These questions remain open, and they are central to ongoing research in anthropology, history, and cognitive science. Belchite endures because it occupies a defined role within the human environment. It is neither fully abandoned nor reintegrated. It exists as a controlled anomaly, a deliberate pause in the adaptive process. In evolutionary terms, such pauses are rare. Human systems typically favor continuity through change. Belchite represents the opposite strategy. Change was redirected and continuity was suspended in place. What remains is not simply a town without people, but a landscape that records the limits of adaptation. A reminder that human environments can be transformed not only by survival, but by choice. Belchite stands where it has always stood. Its meaning, however, has been carefully engineered to remain unresolved. Belchite is not just a place to be observed, but a question to be examined. As you leave this landscape behind, consider how societies choose what to rebuild, what to preserve, and what to leave frozen in time. Understanding these choices is essential to understanding ourselves.